Thank you so much, Kelly Scuddy and William Jewell and the Board of Trustees, and especially Andrea Malone and Reagan Rockenfield, who put this whole thing together, which has been extraordinary. Um, my path to Jewell was a little bit different than most. My senior year in high school, when I decided that I wanted to go to William Jewell, my parents said, well, you could go to MU like your brothers and your dad, and we will pay the way and we can pay for it. If you decide you're going to go to William Jewell, then you're going to have to put some skin in the game and some money. And so I knew going into Jewell that I was going to have an extensive amount of debt coming out of it, but I would not change anything for the world. But I convinced them, alas, that Jewell was the place for me because of the extraordinary nursing program that they had at Jewell, and that there was no better nursing program around, and that there was no other place I should be to pursue that career path. Then the spring of my senior year, I came to Jewell to meet with the volleyball coach to talk about playing volleyball here at Jewell. And as I was meeting with the volleyball coach, back then the offices at the top of the Mabee Center had glass walls. And as she was speaking, I was kind of looking down over the glass wall, watching the dance team practice down below, and decided a couple weeks later that maybe volleyball wasn't the path that I wanted to take, and ended up trying out for the dance team and making the dance team. So this is going somewhere with the change and windy path that awaits sometimes. But when I came to Jewell as a freshman, I went full force into the nursing major, and somewhere about the middle of my first semester, I left in the middle of Dr. Lang's chemistry class in tears and sat out on the steps of the library crying and thinking, oh God, this is bad. I don't think I can do this. And someone who is now a friend today, who I didn't know at all then, was sitting down the way, and she said, are you okay? And I said, I just dropped my major. My parents are going to kill me. I have no idea what I want to do. And she said, why don't you just go major in communications? Because until you figure out what you want to do, it's just a good path that you can really do anything with. I was like, okay, sounds good. So I went to the business office and I met with the communications advisor, and I changed my major that day to communications. And that was Julie Day, that became my advisor and one of my dear friends today, and who I would do the work study program with through the remainder of my time at Jewell. But it just goes to show that best laid plans don't always turn out the way that you think that they will. And your path will wind, but I cannot think of a better path for myself than to have been a communications major here at William Jewell. The second thing is, I was in communications and I thought, I don't know exactly what I want to do with this yet, but I know I'm loving it. I know I love the classes. I love the professors. Lois Ann and Kim and Julie and Gina Lane and the whole department were just incredible mentors to me. But I sat in chapel one day on a Thursday, and Elizabeth T. Solberg was getting a citation, or a honorary degree, I believe it was at the time. And she was the founder of the FleishmanHillard Kansas City office back in 1977. And as she was explaining her path at FleishmanHillard, I thought, oh my gosh, that's exactly what I want to do with my career. That's exactly what I want to pursue. So that next summer, I applied for an internship and I did not get it. And that next summer, I applied for an internship at FleishmanHillard and I did not get it. And then that next summer, I applied for an internship at a hospital in the PR department. And it was a great experience, but my supervisor there left there during the spring of my junior year to go work at FleishmanHillard. And she called and said, you have to come intern at FleishmanHillard this summer. And I said, well, I would love to do that. So I interned at FleishmanHillard the summer before my senior year. And then I graduated in May of 99, got married in June of 99, started at FleishmanHillard in July of 99, and all of those things remain to be true today. So the path will lead you in different directions that you may not have ever imagined. A couple of things that stick with me in terms of pieces of advice that I've been given that have served me well in my personal and professional career are: one, that you are going to make a lot of mistakes in your professional and your personal life. And the best advice that I've ever been given is that if you have to eat crow, eat it while it's still warm, because there is nothing worse than sitting on something and pondering it and letting it fester and letting it take up mental space and causing anxiety. Just rip that Band-Aid off. Learning is painful. Do it in the moment and move on. Just like success is never final, failure is also not fatal. And you can clean up on aisle 5, as I always say, and move on. And you've learned and you won't do it again. Next is always do more than the bare minimum. I think that a lot of times, like Kelly was saying at Jewell, you're not allowed to phone it in, nor are you in the professional world or your personal life. If you always set out to just do what is asked of you and do the bare minimum, you're never going to get any farther than that. So always just do a little bit more than what is asked of you. Always look to do the most that you can possibly do in any situation for another person, for a friend, for your community, for your professional organization, because it means something to do the most that you possibly can and make the most of every action that you take, every word that you speak. And then lastly, I would just say that it's really important to be your authentic self. And my daughter often says that she appreciates that I am unapologetically me. And that takes a lot of form sometimes. I'm often told, and always have been, you're too loud, you talk too fast, you interrupt, you get a little fiery. I do believe there is a time and a place for a well-timed F-bomb. Don't always speak like a lady. And I know that to be true of myself, and I am unapologetically me. And I have found always that you need to be bold, you need to be yourself, and you're not always going to be everybody's cup of tea, but that's okay, because you have your people and you have your path, and your own authentic way will lead that path. And I also believe that we each have individual superpowers, and they're all different from one another. And so embrace those and use them to the best of your ability. I just want to end by thanking my family, my husband, Eric, my daughters, Allie and Ava. They are the 3 best decisions I've made in my life by far. And I would never be where I am today without them. And I would like to thank the whole Jewell community for this recognition and honor. I'm very thankful to be here. I would just advise each of you students to go forward with faith in God and hard work. Deo Physis Labora. Thank you.